going to be getting married now. And I'm going to make sure that the wedding is everything I ever wanted. Sister-in-law, an elite woman, is saying she's getting married. There is no way someone couldn't be showing interest in something like that right now. Excuse me? How can you call yourself my sister-in-law when you haven't given a crap about your older brothers and my marriage this whole time? Well, when it comes to the wedding, make sure you're there in the least embarrassing fashion as possible, okay? There is no way anyone should see that my sister-in-law is an unkept slob. Make sure to have a chat about how not to be a loser later for me, okay? There's no need to be worried about that. Now, as for your wedding, I'm looking forward to it. Thank you so much for coming out to my wedding today with this Chinese hunk of mine. Now, I'm aware that this is a bit sudden of me, but I'd like to ask you that you give a speech for me today. Is that all right with you? It should be all right with you, right? What? You're asking me to do that only now? I've never heard anything from you before today about there even being a speech. Well, that's because I never said anything to you about one. The friend I asked to come here to give the speech today hasn't shown up yet. And she just told me that she most likely won't be able to make it because of a cold. So I'm asking that you please make something up as soon as you can. What? Even if you ask that of me, though, and make sure not to say anything that would embarrass yourself, okay? I mean, you made it through middle school at least, so you can still give a speech, right? But things like speeches take a bit more time than just an hour or two to prepare. Having to give a speech in such a rush like you're asking me to isn't feasible. Oh, I knew that you wouldn't be able to do it. It has to do with you being an idiot, right? Maybe something like that is too difficult for you, huh? But there isn't anyone else for me to ask such a thing from now. And since both my brother and family are all really close to me, I wouldn't want to cause them any trouble. So you really are the only person I can ask right now, Macy. How about you just try and do something simple, like a 5-year-old would do for a speech in front of everyone? So you're saying that it's totally okay with you to cause me some trouble today? Alrighty then. I'll give that speech for you. Really? Oh, that is wonderful. Well then, please and thank you. Oh, one other thing. The speech that my hubby's friend will be giving for him will all be in Chinese. All of his family and friends don't really speak anything besides Chinese, so there you go. And actually, I'd kind of like it if you gave your speech in Chinese for all of them as well. But even having to introduce yourself in Chinese as a high school dropout of all people is going to be impossible, right? Wow, that really will be impossible for you. I'd get to work on using a translation app or something in hopes you can make something that's at least a little bit understandable to them. I get it now. So that's what this is all about. Well, it's all right, though. I'll still do it. What? Seriously? Wait, I told you to make sure you do well on this speech, right? If you start to use incorrect Chinese, not like you'd know any, you're going to look like even more of a fool than you already are. The one being laughed at will only be you. Yeah, I get that. I'll make sure to do this speech correctly, so don't worry about it. You're making me laugh so much right now. This is really going to be the best entertainment a wedding has ever seen. Well, please and thank you. Sure. See you later then. Hey! What the hell was that all about? Are you telling me that you can speak Chinese fluently or something? And wait, your Chinese was so good you made yourself look as though you're actually from there. What the hell is all of this about? You're just a measly high school dropout, right? There was no time for you to even use AI or anything in order to make that speech up. You're right about there not being enough time. Thankfully, though, everyone here today seemed very happy with the speech I gave for you. I don't want to hear any of that from you. What the hell is going on here, Macy? You explain yourself to me right now. There are a few things that led to all of this, and it is too much for me to tell you all about right now. So to sum things up a bit, I was raised overseas. Huh? You were raised overseas? Like, something like that is just normal to you? Wait, are you really surprised by someone being raised overseas like me? There are plenty of people in this country who grew up overseas and whatnot and have just moved back to the US now, right? What? Huh? Are there not that many people? A ton of the people around me are like that, having grown up in countries all over the world. Huh? Why did you get raised overseas and not here in the States? Aren't you supposed to be an American? Why was I... My father worked for a very large company that asked he move overseas for a while to work for a new office in China. And so he took his whole family along with him, and that's why I wasn't in the US growing up. And that's why I'm able to speak both English and Chinese fluently. Huh? I have no idea what you're talking about right now. Wait, but you were speaking more than just Chinese during that speech, right? What the hell were those other languages? Wait, did you not understand any of what I was saying then? Daniela, you told me before how much of an elite you are. But as someone who can't even speak more than 2 languages, how can you think of yourself as an elite? Huh? It's rare for people in the United States to be able to speak Chinese like I can. The fact that an elite like myself can speak Chinese so well makes me even more than just a basic elite even. Ah. I guess to those who can only speak English, you are more interesting and talented than them when you can speak another language. Well, the languages that I was just speaking in here were English, of course, Chinese, Spanish, Korean, French, and Japanese. Why the hell are you able to speak in all those languages so well? Why? Oh, because that's how I was raised, like most others. Is that not normal? I mean, my family all naturally speaks English, so as the next language in line in terms of being widely used, there's Chinese. Everyone in the seats were all happy to hear what you were talking about and how you could speak like that. But does that mean they all understood you as well? Well, it's not like I was saying too many difficult things in each language. This does happen to be a very international wedding, so I thought I was doing the right thing there. And seeing by how everyone reacted to me, my speech was a major hit. Isn't that great? And ever since that speech, I've been having all sorts of people come up and introduce themselves to me. I know that. But why the hell is everyone here more interested in you over the bride? Are you frickin' kidding me right now? Wow. But this has all happened thanks to what you both asked me to do for you. And by the way, you introduced me, right? Before I stepped out to speak, you told everyone, and now for my stupid sister who can't even speak a tad bit of Chinese, while giggling like a child. Didn't you say that with the intent of belittling me? They all just assumed that I'd get out there and only be able to say things in English and probably had little hope for me. But when I began to talk to all of them in 6 different languages like that, they were all falling out of their chairs, right? Are you wanting to say that I'm the one who made things turn into this? Well, for lack of better words, yes. But isn't this just wonderful? Your wedding doesn't have to end due to failure, and all of your guests were entertained, to say the least. Although the things you said about me were a bit much. Everyone that could understand what you said sure looked a bit disgusted with that. Why, when this is supposed to be my wedding, is everyone talking about you? And I can see more people going around and talking about you while taking pictures of you than they are of me. That's so true. I've made more friends here than I thought would be possible at a wedding of yours. All thanks to you, Daniela. I'm not going to let you get away with this. I will not let things be now after the way you showed me up. Say that all you'd like to me. But you were the one that asked for it.
Hey, Macy, are you all right? I was told by Daniela that she'd been knocked down by you, and that you're to blame for her having to be rushed out of this place in an ambulance and such. But that was, I'm not sure who to trust.
Right. Now I get it. She's been going on about something like that to my own husband now? Well, that didn't happen. She was the one that tried to knock me down and such. But I was able to notice all of that before she could lay a hand on me. And thanks to my quick thinking, I moved out of her way and she fell down those steps in an awful manner, sending her to the hospital. And before you ask, I was the one who called the ambulance for her, so be thankful for that.
I kind of figured that was the case. I knew she was up to no good there. There was no reason for someone as mature as you to do that to her, and it would have been downright crazy if you had.
You're right about that. Why would I ever want to hurt her like that when I haven't had anything against her, right? That's way too crazy of a thing to be doing.
She was bawling her eyes out to me, and so I'm on my way to the hospital to meet with her. But now I know the truth about what all went down there. You didn't do a single thing to that girl. And a few others are telling me now as well that you didn't do anything wrong.
Good to hear that there were others around to see that all unfold. But would you have doubted me without their input on what they'd seen today?
No, I knew something was off about all of this the moment Daniela opened her mouth. Not only was I already upset with her by the way she'd introduced you before you came out and gave that speech for her, but after saying all of those things, you came out and gave one of the best speeches I've ever heard.
Now and want this wedding ended. And currently the groom is trying to talk with all the guests who have so many questions about what's going on. Some of them know what happened though, thanks to his parents, and are just as upset as he is now. Guess the wedding really is over with pretty soon here.
Whatever happens to their wedding and their marriage now has nothing to do with me. Now, if the groom says that he still wants to be married to Daniela the way she is, then he can go right ahead and have her. And I get that she is still my family and all, but my parents and I don't care about what happens next with her, and will not be giving her any advice on what to do about her marriage. That's only if there's gonna be a marriage now, right? If I were in the shoes of that man, I'd have the marriage and all thrown away so that I never had to be around Daniela again. If he actually does go through with making her his wife still, then his family will probably leave him too.
Well. Aren't you being a bit more strict with your sister than normal? When normally you're so attached to her, it makes me gag.
Oh, so that's what you've thought of us. Well, I guess you're not wrong for thinking that I've been so generous to her this whole time. But with what she'd done today in mind, I'm over her now. A little sister that would go after my wife in order to harm her like she did is no little sister of mine anymore. She's a self-proclaimed elite, so she shouldn't be acting like that to begin with, right? I mean, you can't be an elite with uncontrollable emotions of jealousy and hate like that. And attacking the wife of her brother? I mean, come on, right?
Well, I'm really shocked now, Davis. I never expected a day like today to come, where you'd be saying things like that about your own sister.
To be fair, the only reason you two were never able to grow close to one another is because of the jealousy she had for you, right? I was aware of that, okay? And there were days where she'd say some of the most ridiculous things to me about you, and I had to warn her to lay off of you some. But perhaps I wasn't being strong enough with my words then. Seeing now that she's gone way too far, I have to do what I have to do with her. And I want her to learn that having to get injured like that and sent to the hospital is what she deserved for being such a baby.
And I just thought the girl was upset with me for being too close to her older brother. Well, at least you understand things a lot better now, right? And, I mean, you saw how she introduced me, right? She may have assumed that her grooms and his parents wouldn't be able to understand since she said it all in English, but that didn't make her look good at all in your guys' eyes.
Until now.
Had that girl not tried to physically hurt me today, she would have been just fine and could have still had her wedding and all. But since it seems that she's just going to continue to try and get revenge on me for absolutely nothing, I'm going to have to call it quits with her myself. Hearing you say that you're cutting ties to her now, too, makes me feel so much better.
I'm sure it does.
Well, I'll make sure to tell her off if she ever comes back at me. So make sure you do the same thing and tell her that you and I are no longer related to her.
I'll do my best with that, and we'll make sure both of my parents are aware as well. Although I'm pretty sure now that no one from my family is gonna want to keep her around any longer, so don't worry.
Great. Thank you, Davis. I'll talk to you again soon after I get out of this lobby. It's because of you that I am no longer going to be able to get married to my hubby now! So why the hell are you able to go out with him and his family now and have drinks like that? I can see now what he means by you not being the best at communicating. Don't worry about what all we're doing right now. I was just asked to come out with them for dinner as a thank you. Now I'm going to get back to it and have a bunch of fun with him and his family tonight. Huh? I feel like crap right now knowing that my marriage will never get to happen now because of all this. You already have my brother now, all right? So you cut it out right now flirting with my hubby like that. Oh, Jesus, I'm not flirting with him right now, all right? And even if I were, he's not your hubby anymore, now is he? At least everyone here understands that and is no longer thinking about you much. But anyway, me being here with him does not mean I am flirting with him in any way. Well, I still haven't given up on getting married to him, all right? And if you're not trying to steal him from me, you say something to him that will get him to come back to me. Why should I do that for you? I know I shouldn't be saying this, but I don't think a man such as him should be wasting any more of his precious time on someone like you. You know, he's told me that he always found you cute because of how often you'd work on speaking Chinese with him. He could never understand your English much, but it's because of that he never was able to understand the true kind of monster you were underneath. But now that he's aware of who you are, he can see that you're not so cute after all. You guys have talked about me that much already? I know this will come as a surprise for you now, but for a while he'd been studying English without ever telling you, though. So when you walked out and introduced me in such a rude way, he understood the gist of what you'd said about me. He had planned to surprise you by speaking some English today, even at your wedding, by giving a speech of his own meant for you in English. But things really went out of control pretty quickly for you there, and he was never allowed that chance. Also, considering that you only happen to speak Chinese a little bit, which is far more than most Americans can, that doesn't mean you get to go around making fun of others and calling yourself an elite. Why have you guys been talking about that? And that is now the reason why he will no longer be marrying you. But you know what's going to happen now? I'm being hired into his father's company and will be working on a new project for him that I'll be able to bag a salary of $150,000 a year on. Things have really gone my way today, it seems. Huh? What are you talking about? Are you trying to say that it's because of me that you're being given that job now? Yes, I sure am. And I'm the one who is losing her only brother now. And because of you, I had to suffer a broken neck and right leg. And I've had to lose my lovely fiancé now as well. This is all screwed up. You also had to quit that job you had, thinking that you could just become a housewife after getting married, right? Your fiancé was shocked to hear about that. He asked me if that's really a common thing for us Americans to do. Well, I had to tell him that here it's not all too common, but there still do happen to be some very selfish women around who don't know any better. Seems like he didn't really agree with that kind of thing in this day and age and wants himself a woman who can actually take care of herself. You really seem to have opened his eyes a bit now. No way. So I'm really going to lose everything I ever had now? So, something to get him to want me back again. Please, I'll apologize to you if you do that for me. I'm sorry that I have to say this now, but your apologies mean nothing to me at all. If anything, I'd rather have you fix that horrible attitude of yours instead of apologizing to me. How does that sound? I mean, I'm already cutting ties to you here, so you and those apologies won't mean anything to me. To be frank, I hope you do go to hell now for what you've done and learn how all of this was your own doing. A few months later, after all of Daniela's injuries and breaks had healed up, she went back to her ex, crying and begging for him back, only to learn that there was no use in trying anymore. She then ran back to the company which she had quit from before her wedding, asking for her job back, but learned that she was hated there the whole time, and there was no chance for that to happen either. From there, she was able to find herself a decent part-time job or something, but I really don't care about the woman at all, and will not be focusing on her life anymore. As for myself and my husband, we made sure to cut all ties to her, and that we blocked her in our phones so that she would never be talking to us again. However, there was this one point in time, though, where she came out to our house begging for her brother to go out and love her again. I believe she sat out there for 3 nights screaming and crying for him to come before she had finally fainted due to not having any food at all in her system. And someone later spotted her slumped-over body and called the ambulance to get her. Unbeknownst to her, my husband and I were both away when that went down, and only knew about what happened at our house with her because of our doorbell's camera, which we'd watch occasionally when the motion sensor went off. And by the time we came back home from our trip out of the country, we never had to see Daniela again because she was in too much debt then to afford to come out and see us anymore.